So the next we have Mahmoud, the MVP, and he's one of our inspiration for the D6 communities around Microsoft in the Middle East. And he inspires us every day to do these community events. And he himself does many events. You might have seen him. And he also was speaker in global events. And we have one big event which is coming on Experts Live. He will give you more details, which is on November. And today is going to talk about architecting intelligent AI applications on Azure, a guide for professional developers. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. Yeah, sorry for joining late. I'll just get my presentation ready. Just give me a second. I have to join you, or what should be the plan? Great. Hmm?
Yeah, it's presented.
It's presenting? Great.
There's the camera.
Yeah, sure. Yes. And clicker would work, or that's fine. Yeah, this is the one, but it's not.
There's, I think you need to insert, yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Morning, guys. So already, our colleague already highlighted everything about me, but I'll just recap it a quick. So my name is Mahmoud ATALLAH. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I've been working in the journey of Microsoft for almost 15 years now. Uh, when it comes to the community, I built the community back days in Qatar. So I've been in Qatar for 8 years. All over Qatar, most of my customers were like my community members as well. And here in Dubai, we are running lots of community. So we are part of Azure Middle East, which is Ahmed is running, Global AI Abu Dhabi, which is I'm running, Global AI Dubai, which is Microsoft themselves are running, and also Dynamics 365, which is VK is running as well. So we do have lots of community happening. I would be happy to see you every time that we are interacting. That's first of all. And I see most of the faces also. I've been recognizing them through the different events that we run across the year. When it comes to the expert life, as my colleague highlighted, I do have a big event that will be happening in November 11. Most of the team also are a key speaker. So Samir is key speaker, Vigesh is key speaker. Ahmed is my team member organizing. Ahmed as well is an attendees. He's also part of the organizing team. So we have Sulava is sponsoring us. So we do have here most of the team members knowing me and knowing the event itself. I'll be sharing the details later on. Feel free to explore it. I'm happy to get you in as well. If you need any discount, if you need any support, I'm happy to support you with this. Let's focus on today. So when it comes to Azure workload, people are directly considering the AI. Okay, I'll consume the AI services to do X, Y, Z. But once you start consuming the services, there is lots of consideration not being taken at the beginning. Security is a key aspect. Compliance is another aspect, which is those are the ones that we're gonna explore today. But before I deep dive into the technology part, just raise your hand. Who's here from the development background? Great. Other side, who's here from the system management and system administrations? Great. Others are business users or Dynamics, Biz Apps. Just raise your hand with your name. Biz Apps, right? I see. Yeah. Why I'm asking? Because what I'll be presenting right now, it's very super technical. If I will just jump in, I'll just skip some slides to see what's gonna see later on. And I hope this is will be a bit soft. So on that design, which is here, we're gonna literally go through every single component. So it's a super advanced level. So that's why I was asking the question, in case of the people here on the room are not really focused on understanding every single component, we're gonna skip that slide and we're gonna be more focused on the consumption of the service, how you can consume the service, what would be the dependency, what would be the workflow, how you can consume one service here, skip other services. So I'll be try to get your thoughts, which direction I should follow, just to support your interest and to make the session more productive as well. What do you think, guys? Shall we go with this advanced level or we have a bit higher level, understanding the application from the overview? Your thoughts, and then we're gonna go into the action. I have both slides, I have both actions. تفضل. Advanced. أنا عارف. Other side, basic. Just raise your hand. Basic. Okay. Advanced. It's almost the same, guys. Which one to select? Okay, I'll try to go between both of them. Why I'm asking this? Literally, I presented this like 6 months ago. The audience, after 10 minutes, they were literally overwhelmed, and none of the people were interacting with me. Okay, so I understand that. I'm trying to give you the context. That's one aspect. On the other side, sometimes I'm going with very high level. People are very interested, but out of the session itself, they just got like the name of the technology, which is again not really what I'm looking for. I need you to be more interacting with me, getting insights on what's going to happen. Okay, I'll back a bit and then we'll start. Yeah. So as highlighted today, AI has become everywhere in our life. That's literally happening. And I will start with this slide. So back days, I got one requirement for one of my customers to build AI application that will do a kind of audio processing and audio analysis. It's a kind of basic call center. They do have a voice recording system. The record is getting to the system. They need to do this processing, which is will explore function by function. The business goal was to give a summary for the agent, and the agent will consume this summary to interact with the customer, analyze the behavior of the agent, maybe for the audit as well after the call itself, sentiment analysis to understand if it was positive, negative, customer was satisfied, unsatisfied, those kind of things. So as a requirement, we're gonna see a code recording system. It's been injecting to, I will try to name the component on Azure. Maybe if you are not aware, it's nice to know the component name itself. If you're already aware, it will be nice also to interact with. So code recording, it's been injected to a blob on Azure. We do have in between Azure function. It's a service list that will allow you to run a certain code. So at that function, you would be able to process the audio to be trained or to be transacted to a transcript, and then you're gonna get a custom speech model or pre-trained model or even a ready-made speech AI model to convert this audio to a text. So you will be able to consume this text for analysis. So that's the first stage. And then you're gonna put this in a queue. For sure, for the system to function properly, you will not dump all the action in one shot. So you are putting them on a queue one by one. That's what will happen behind the scenes. So you have the queue is pushing the calls to the system, and then from the blob you are consuming something called language service. It's one of the out-of-the-box AI service that is available in Microsoft that will give you context analysis, sentiment analysis, transcript, and even give you translation as well, conversions. So this is where you're gonna get the transcript injected to the blob, and then you can consume any business application or Power App, Power BI to analyze the application. So end to end, the solution is function. It's a basic solution. It does have key components. It's function as expected, but it does have zero security consideration. It does have zero security compliance or integration or dependency. So that's where I thought, okay, I need to give a context about AI security and compliance. So just before I jump into the security aspect, any question on that design aspect? Clear enough? Done. And that's where I start thinking, okay, we need to ensure the Compliance, basic. Call recording, it shouldn't go out of my, let's say, data center. Call recording, it shouldn't be accessible by unrelated users. Let's say, auditor is fine to access this, but the guys are working on, let's say, on the agent itself, and he gonna listen to other team member calls and speed that. So this is for sure. We need to consider the compliance in the picture, and then we need to consider the security management. What is the level of security? System administrator, he's okay to access this, or he just okay to manage the infrastructure and he shouldn't access the environment itself. We had this recently. So one of my team member was doing a migration for our customer, and it was very clear secure gap. He's a global admin, so he has access to the user entity information, but on behind that, the user does have access to a medical report for a certain environment. So because you do have a global admin, you were able to impersonate the second account, and then you will be able to access the medical report for other teammates. So that was very clear security gap where we need to consider the security, access control, RBAC, and X and Y and Z. So this is the second aspect. And then scalability. Today I'm receiving 2 calls. Okay, the application will function. But second day I'm receiving 1 million call. The application will not function. It will interrupt. So we need to consider the scalability. We need to understand how the queuing will function, how the storage will be able to retrieve this information. And then we go for the cost. Okay, it's a scalable doesn't mean that from day one I will make it 100 GPU or 1000 CPU and 200,000 RAM, whatever it is. So you need to consider again the consideration of the security, and then seamless integration, API with your calling system, API with the financial aspect, API with the auditing reporting. That integration is happening. And then you're gonna look into the point of services on the ground if you need any endpoint or something like that. So this is something that you need to consider while you are designing your application. Back to the landing zone, as we highlighted. So at the previous slide, that was the application. It functioned. Literally, most of the enterprises are getting the application here, and then all this are the add-on for compliance and security. So yes, you are estimating the cost of the application by $100 and security and compliance by $100,000. It depends on their needs. It depends on who you deal with. I just was in an RFP call 2 minutes ago, and they were asking me, okay, we are gonna migrate only 100 machine. Why we need to consider the cost of the manpower for double X? Because this is enterprise. And for enterprise, just to get a cap approval, I need 2 months to get one approval. So there is a consideration just for the paperwork. Same consideration for the compliance and security requirement. So it's exactly the same. Now let's understand this in depth. So when it comes to the beginning, by the way, any of you have played with the landing zone framework before? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Good. I started this back days in Qatar in 2018, and it was literally like only 2 aspects of this when we started. It was the first time that Microsoft introduced the concept of landing zone. It was called hub and spoke, and we had only one hub, 2 spokes, and that's application. That's it. They start adding add-on to make it more compliant, more secure, but they give the flexibility to select whatever you need based on your application. So now let's deep dive. Okay, starting with with the enterprise scale, the first element that you need to understand, who gonna access what, which is the identity and access management. So I do have the admin. Those are the people that will manage. They would require a privileged access. They would require different access based on their needs. And then I do have end user, which is again, the end user would have a certain access requirement. Both of them I will require to apply security layer, which is coming in the picture, multi-factor authentication, approvals, in the application and the biz apps. I know that Power Automate, lots of approval requirement, lots of process requirement, which is very valid. I shouldn't really directly allow a system admin to have a global admin to act on an enterprise environment without getting approval or without getting a pre-request approved by certain team members. And then access review, audit review. So you're gonna sit with your customer, understand that the AI requirement. Let's have I literally had a yesterday call with one of my customer. It was about document processing. So they receive, uh, there is a public API connected with TAM, where the form is being pre-filled by end user or customer facing. And then TAM does have certain integration with this entity. So this form is being already feeded directly to the customer environment. Once it's been fed, the manual work start. Someone will look into the information. Another one will try to get the correlated information out of this, and then they will start passing it to the manager to validate it, and then it pass for another team member to do the audit, and then it will be passed to the final member to just submit it on the system, agree or reject. It's a certain processes based on the customer in that environment. Here, you will see that, yeah, for the AI application, for every stage, it's a different access. Someone will have, again, approval access only. So he's literally reader only. He doesn't have any access on the context of the form itself. And another one he has to modify. So this is where the identity comes in the picture. And keep in mind that every AI application now out of Microsoft, it does have the single sign-on behavior, which is meaning that you can consume the Entra ID providing you with 500,000 identity for free. So you can consume it for free up to 500,000 user without any premium or paid license. You can directly go with this. So identity is a key requirement, which is you can do your application directly integrated with Entra ID. And then you're gonna go for the second level. This is the grounding of your application. For my application to work, I need a landing zone. Please make sure to remember this keyword. This keyword, it will help you to do interviews. It's a very valid point. Like most of the customer will ask you the first question, do you know anything about the hub and spoke? Do you know anything about landing zone? It's a very important keyword. They will understand that you understand the security and compliance. They understand that the communication flow. So once you have the landing zone, you have your platform application. This is where you're going to manage your identity. And then you do have your corporate application. And then you do have your sandbox and development application. This is where the segregation is happening. Okay. And now in the advanced layer. It's literally when I see myself, it's overwhelming for me. But I'll try to just pick just a few components. We'll not really deep dive into every single component. Domain controller. Who have been dealt with domain controller before? Domain controller. Okay. I think I need to move to the business level more because this is literally deep dive more. Okay. So when it comes to the identities that we highlighted at the beginning, for enterprise level, usually they don't like to manage the identity by public vendor like Microsoft. They're gonna manage it by themselves. That's where the domain controller come in the picture. Your identity is managed by yourself, and then it's being synchronized to the Entra ID, so the user will be able to consume it. To be honest, I can see that the people are not really into that area, so I'll try to move a bit quick from one to another. So identity is one aspect, backup is another aspect, cost is another aspect, policy is another aspect, and then you connect those puzzles together to get your application function. And then the application will come here in that area. So for your application, you remember we discussed that the application that it does have Azure storage account and one queue and Power BI integration externally. It's literally this icon. So out of the whole picture, your application is just raising here. This is the storage account that is having your application requirement, and then you do have your backup configuration. So whenever I'm building application for my custom infrastructure, because I'm not doing the application layer, I'm doing the infrastructure. I'm considering all those aspects, and I'm keeping this icon for the application owner. Some entity, the application owner is taking this stage. But what happened? He will create the application. The application is accessible by internet. Anyone can directly access the application without restriction. The database, and I've been in this situation lots of time. As a freelancer, I'm jumping in a customer environment. Man, I'll just do a security assessment, compliance assessment. The first key selling point for me, I found that the database is accessible from internet and the application is communicating with the database over public IP. That's that's a basic, like I would say, that's literally happening in every single entity, that it's managed by the application owner, not managed by someone understanding the security practice. So this is where they're gonna manage that part. I'll try to move a bit faster to look into the AI part, because again, I need to really give you the AI component that are required. So this is the actual AI where the open AI will come into picture. So here, again, it's the same landing zone, but we downsize the landing zone. We make it more close to the customer components only. We do have, again, on-premises. This is the customer office. In order for the customer office to communicate with the OpenAI, for sure, not over internet, privately, we will require this communication flow. So in order for this to happen, first point, do you know VPN, virtual private network? Perfect. So the first component is required for you to communicate with OpenAI over private networking, because OpenAI is in the cloud. Your on-premises is in your office. So in order for this to happen, you need the VPN gateway. And then for the VPN gateway to be configured and the system admin to manage, we need those few components. Azure Passion will allow the end user or the admin to access the workload and to configure the things over the internet. That's the Azure Bastion. And then the firewall to inspect the traffic that is going on between all your application. And then you're gonna jump into the application layer. Okay, I do have my OpenAI, which is the API endpoint at the end. It's nothing other than that. It's just the API endpoint. Okay, for this API endpoint to be accessible from my application, to be accessible for the end user, I will publish it over a web interface endpoint that will be visual available to the end user. OpenAI itself, it's not a visual application. It's just the API. So you do have the API. You will connect to the API through something called the private endpoint for your application. The end user will see this interface, which is the chat engine itself, to work with the application. Okay, I do remember one of my customer requested, okay, I need one OpenAI, because here there is a new, I would say, selling point from Microsoft. They are calling it reserved OpenAI capacity. So instead of you are paying the time that you are consuming the service, you are reserving the OpenAI instance itself for yourself, and then you are consuming it without paying additional cost. That's where the instance comes in the picture. So let's assume that the customer does have this instance, but he needs to consume it for multiple applications. It will provide one API, but you need it to be multiple accessible by endpoint. That's where the API management interface come into picture. So I will take the API from the OpenAI, I will feed it to the API management, and then I will cut it down into small APIs that I can consume. So again, end user is going from here, VPN jumping into the interface. The interface is getting me to the API management. API is feeding the data to the OpenAI application. This journey, it's 100% secure from the networking perspective. So network and transit, or the data and transit, security layer, I'm secure. Now let's go for the next stage. I chatted with the engine. I hosted the data. This data, which is image or whatever it is, document, to the OpenAI. Now the data moved from the OpenAI to the storage account, which is now your data is stored in a storage account. You need to make sure, again, it's secure. So back to the point. Storage account communication between OpenAI and storage account over something called the private endpoint. Again, it's perfect, privately secure. But now it still was in transit. What about keeping my data secure at rest? The difference between data at rest and data in transit, that the data at rest, the data is stored in one location, but it's still, I'm not sure if it's secure or not. Data in transit, the data is communicating with different endpoint. I need to make sure that also it's secure. So that's the difference. So until here, data in transit is secure. Once it's in the storage account, it's not secure. I need to secure it. I will add the flavor of Key Vault. Key vault will create a key encryption key for the storage and will encrypt whatever in the storage to be encrypted. And that's where the layer of the data at rest as well will be secured. Okay, back to our application. So we highlighted in the application that we do have a voice processing, we do have a transcript, we do have, let's say, a chat engine to analyze the information. So until this, we are okay. But we need the language services, or we need the indexing service. That's where additional service come from Microsoft. It's called AI search. So AI search will help you with the indexing part. So you have a chunk of the document, you have a chunk of the transcript. You need to segregate that chunk to be small so the engine will be able to retrieve this information quickly. That's where you convert a text to vector. So this is the component of AI search. Again, it's a private communication. So it's still happening through the private endpoint, and your communication is getting back to the on-premises over this network. Until here, we are speaking about one application, one function over a private network. There is lots of services available from Microsoft that will allow you to do additional security layer. Policy. I remember one day when I started the Azure landing zone back in Qatar, the first question that they asked, I need the resources to be only deployed. At that time, there was no Qatar region. It was only West Europe. So I need my workload to be only deployed within West Europe because I have agreement with that region that our data will be only residence here. Okay, in order to make sure that will be there and the engineer will not just deploy the environment anywhere, I do have the policy. The policy is a definition where in order to do this function, you are only allowed to do it in this location. And that's where the policy comes in the picture. And I'm the fan of having the policy before the execution. So you put the policy, people will execute. Whenever they do something wrong, the policy will restrict them. So this is how you should apply the compliance and policy. We do have lots of other components. I don't need, again, to deep dive into the points, but out of this design, I need you to remember few keywords that you will consume them later on. So today morning, our colleague highlighted you can use Azure AI Foundry. Okay? AI Foundry behind the scenes will allow you to consume OpenAI, AI search, and the AI language, the three components that we highlighted for AI. So they are just the components that will allow you to have this ecosystem. Please, whenever you are executing for customer environment, don't go directly and get the API of OpenAI, deliver the service, your AI application is function. The second day, if you signed any contract with them, you will be the blame person about the security and compliance. So I'll just stop here and I'll keep it open to just ask about, again, the same definitions are there. If you need to ask any question related to this component, any something related to communication flow, I'll just keep it for you. Any questions? Fine. Again, getting sleeping people. I know from the beginning. Yeah, so to be frank, when it comes to audience targets, I usually target people that are coming from the system level because they understand my context. However, I'm trying today to convert this message to the business level because literally I can see on my customer base that people are just directly consuming the service without considering the security part, and that's where I'm coming from. So again, we highlighted those components, and thank you. Have a good day. We are good in time? Good in time. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Just before I leave again, I'll just give you a quick heads up about Expert Live.
Yes,
And
yes.
then we'll take it from there. I didn't really plan it. So that's just the website. Feel free to have a look into that. And I think we can get a QR from here, right?
I'm handy with the MacBooks.
That's fine. So, guys, that's Expert Live, as we just highlighted. It's happening in Dubai. We will have most of the team members on the stage, and also we have few community team members that are coming from outside the UAE. And then most of the faces here you're gonna recognize once you see the speakers on the ground, and that's our key sponsors. So feel free to explore the website itself, expertslife.ae. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud. Mahmoud, 1 second, just excuse me. Thank you, Mahmoud. Thank you so much for the session. And Mahmoud is the first speaker who has submitted his sessions. And I really thanks so much for his time today. I know he's pretty busy with his work, but still he take us some time for the community. I know for the weekends I can definitely count in, but on a weekday it was difficult for anyone to manage. Thank you so much, Mahmoud. Thanks for the amazing session. And we are all excited for the experts live as well. See you all there. Hopefully all the community. A small token of thanks from the community side. Picture.
Join us, Mike. Join us.